So today I want to share with you what my first month as a data analyst was like. In my first month as a data analyst, I sort of had to hit the ground running and I had to work on quite a few things. And that's what I want to share with you today, so you sort of have an idea of what to expect when you land your first role as a data analyst. So I've already done a video on what my first day as a data analyst was like, where I went into the office, got my ID pass, met the team, got my laptop and so on. So make sure you go and check that video out. But today I want to focus on the first full month as a data analyst. So one of the first things that I had to do as soon as possible was some mandatory training that I had to do, and they needed me to do that as quickly as possible so that I can actually start, working. If I didn't do that, I couldn't really start working on the things that they needed me to work on. So I think I did that on the second day, and it was quite a lengthy training. I think it took about 4 hours, and unlike, usually when you're doing training at work, usually you just want to just get them out of the way, and it's like a tick box exercise. But with this one, although it was like a bit of training, it's kind of something that I needed to understand to allow me to do my work. So I actually made notes while I was doing that training, because it helped me with my understanding of kind of what I've got myself into or what I've been doing in the role, and just understanding how the company and everything works overall. So yeah, actually, although it takes 4 hours, I think it took me a bit longer because I was making notes and so on. But yeah, got that done. I think on the second day, because I didn't get enough time to do it on the first day. Another thing that I had to do straight away was write a written report for one of the departments, and I think this was some work that was already waiting for me before I joined. So yeah, when I joined, there wasn't any sort of, like, they didn't ease me in on anything like that. There wasn't any formal training to sort of train me up for the job. No, it was just like, just get things done. So this written report was one of the things that I had to do. And basically what I had to do, they already had a dashboard. I already mentioned to you guys, like, I work with complaints data, so there was already a dashboard with all the data and everything in there. So I had to sort of collect that data and do some written analysis about it, get some charts from there to support it. But they didn't really give me any guidelines of kind of how they wanted me to do it, of how they've done it in the past. They sort of just left it to me to just produce this information in my own style, wherever. And of course, as someone that just joined and very eager to impress, I went to town with it, and I was just doing too much. I'll be honest with you, and I went too overboard. I extracted some of the data from Power BI and did my own um, analysis and my own charts and everything, made it look very pretty. And although, like, they were very impressed, it's kind of, I think they just wanted me to do something simple so that it didn't become a lot of work in the future. So yeah, I kind of went a bit overboard, and like, unfortunately, the department that I was doing that report for, they liked it, and now they expect that standard of work now. So every time I had to deliver that, and they keep coming with more and more requests, and it's become more complex than we originally wanted it to be. We wanted it to be something simple, but now it's become this whole thing. But yeah, so yeah, because I didn't have any specific guidelines on how they wanted me to do it, I sort of went a bit overboard, eager to impress, and here we are now. I'm stuck with this, forever. But yeah, that's one of the first things, that I had to work on, and that of course tested my Power BI skills, tested my, my writing skills and whatnot, But I learned a lot from that small task, at the beginning. Another thing that I had to do quite a bit at the start is spending a lot of time with the complaints team. Okay, so remember I told you guys, because I work sort of within two teams, where I work in the analyst team, but because I work with complaints, I have to also spend some time with the complaints team to understand what they do, so that I know and understand what I'm reporting on. And because of that, my team, we usually go in maybe 2 or 3 times a month into the office, but because I have to spend a bit of time with the complaints team, I went in maybe an additional 2 or 3 times within my first month, just to understand complaints. But I also had to be very firm that I can't be there all the time, because they wanted me to be there, you know, for their team days, and as much as possible. But I had to be firm you know, especially if they're going into office and they're not doing anything that will be beneficial to my work. I had to sort of put my foot down and say, you know what, um, I can't come in because you know I got higher priority tasks and deadlines, you know, that I need to deliver. So you know I'll be spending time working on that. But if it's something that'll be beneficial to the both of us, then I'll go in because you know I don't even mind going into work from office or whatnot. But the office is far away; it's about 2 hours away, you know. So and of course it's very expensive. It cost me about almost £35 a day anytime that I had to go in. So I try to limit that as much as possible and don't go in if I don't need to. So yeah, so that's one of the things that I had to do a lot. You know, spend a lot of time with the complaints officers, understand what they do, how they categorize complaints, how they record them, and everything, so that I can do better analysis. In my work basically. Another thing that I had to do, which is probably the most challenging thing that I had to go through in the first month, was getting a handover from one of my colleagues. So basically, I was taking over from one of my colleagues' work, and it was tough. It was just a lot of information. Imagine I'm coming from a completely different background. Um, I haven't really worked in this sort of corporate setting before. I'm still trying to pick up things, not only, still learn and understand, the tools like your Power BIs and your Excels and whatnot. I'm still trying to understand how Microsoft Teams and, the system that they use to record complaints and all of that stuff works. Just a whole lot of things coming on me. It's trying to understand, the whole how the SharePoint, Share Drive, and all of those things work. But then I'm getting, this handover as well is coming thick and fast. And how it went was basically the person that I was taking over from, will book a meeting with me in the diary, and then we spend like an hour or something, and it's basically just showing me what they do on their day to day, and that's kind of what I'll be taking over from, and it was just a lot of information. So, do you know how I managed to get around it? So what I did was, anytime we're discussing something, of course I'll be taking notes, but then if it starts to get too complex, I'll ask the person like, look, what you're the information you're giving me is quite a lot of information, and it's going to be difficult to process all this information. So do you mind if I record this meeting so I can look back at it, anytime I'm stuck, and then, they were more than happy because, the quicker I understood the information they're giving me, the less work that they had to do, and they can focus on something else. I wouldn't need them as much, so they were happy for me to record it. So that's one of the very important things that I do. So if you're starting, um, a new job, or get into data analytics same way, and you're getting handovers like that and it's complex, ask them if you can record it. And a lot of times, they're more than okay with it, and that helped me a lot in the process. Anytime I'm stuck, sometimes I'll be stuck for a long time, and it'll be the simplest of things, because you've said that you could do all these things, and now it's time to do it and you're stuck, so yeah, I just sit there on my own. And even if it's, the thing is, because we work a lot from home, your colleagues are not sitting right next to you for you to ask them questions whenever you're stuck. You have to you have to try and call them on Teams or send them a message, and they'll get to you whenever they can. So it's good to have that video there. And even if it's after hours, working hours, I can still watch that video just to get better understanding. So that was a very good move on my side. And then sometimes if they're showing me an image or something or whatever, I'll take a screenshot and then I'll refer back to it. Of course, took a lot of notes, and also had like a to-do list, or kind of journal where I'll sort of plan my day. So I had to be very organized at the beginning, so that helped me a lot. So especially the recorders, they're probably thinking, oh, like, oh, Alex, he's picking up things very quickly, but no, because I recorded it and I'm watching it back, lots of times trying to understand it quickly so that I don't look silly. You know what I mean? Asking basic things all the time, which is not, nothing is silly, but at the end of the day, you want to also show that you can handle your own business. So yeah, that really helped me a lot. That's how I got over the line. But that was very tricky because there was a lot of information coming, things I've never seen or heard of before. I mean, that was a difficult phase, So yeah, that's how I got through that part. Another very important thing that I did in the first month was that I sat in a performance meeting. So basically, this performance meeting is where we meet up once a month, and then we go through how, in my case, how complaints are doing. Um, are complaints going up? Are they going down? What we need to do to improve complaints? So in this meeting, I'll be the analyst in that meeting. So I'll have all the analysis. I've had all my notes and everything, and then I'll be presenting it to my managers. Their bosses, the complaints manager boss, and whatnot, and then we just go through that, and then we sort of work through things together and how what we're going to do better the following month and so on. So in the first meeting that I had, I didn't have to do much. I just had to sort of sit in and just kind of observe um, the colleague that I was going to be taking over from. I just sort of watch and observe how he does it. Took some notes, and I was very nervous. I'm thinking, wow, like this is what I'm gonna be doing next month, like by myself. So yeah, that was quite tough. Even just sitting there and watching, I was just nervous. But we got through that, and so usually after that meeting as well, you have to obviously you take notes during that meeting, and then after that you have to summarize everything that we discussed, have all your analysis ready, and then send it off to the manager and the bosses for them to also, I don't know, probably present to their bosses as well or whatnot. But yeah, that's one of the things that I had to do, and I've been doing that monthly ever since. And then another thing during my first month is I usually have weekly catch-ups with my manager. So every usually once a week, I'll have a catch-up with my manager, and just see how things are going throughout the week so that she knows where I am with things. Because a lot of times, most people are just doing their own thing. You know what work you have to do, and you know when you need to deliver them by. So most people are just working on their own work behind the scenes. And as long as you do nothing crazy, no one's gonna bother you. So my manager sort of has that sort of catch up just to know if we're still in control of things, and if everything is going okay. So we discuss that. Any concerns that I have, I usually share that as well in the catch up. And then once a month as well. So we also have like one-to-ones as well, where that's just strictly about myself and my development and whatever thing that I want to discuss. So we don't have a proper strict structure that we follow. I'm sure maybe my manager has her own structure that she follows, but we just usually just free flowing. Anything that I want to discuss, anything that on my mind, and we discuss my development and that kind of thing during that meeting. Another very important thing as well that I had to do in my first month was some data mapping. Okay, so if you don't know what data mapping, if you're trying to be a data analyst, it's something that you need to know, and I'm going to go through that in more detail in another video. But essentially, I was going to go into a project where I was going to build some Power BI dashboards for all the different departments that I work with. And in order for me to do that, of course, I had to understand the data, where the data is stored, how it comes in, and I had to map out how all of that is I'm gonna get all of that data, how I'm gonna work with it. And the project was also, it was rebuilding the existing dashboards that they have. So I had to go through this existing dashboard, went through all the tables, all the formulas and everything that have been used, and basically looked at which ones I can still use, which ones I was going to change. I'm not gonna lie, I did not know what I was doing. That was a very tough one, because they just tell you, yeah, yeah, we're gonna start with the project, so let's start with some data mapping, this and that, and I'm thinking like, what is even that? You know what I'm saying? But it's one of those things. You do a lot of research, you figure it out along the process. But this thing caused me a lot of stress, But yeah, I managed to get that over the line as well. So guys, yeah, these are some of the things that I worked on within my first month as a data analyst. I hope it helps you on your journey when you also become a data analyst. Of course, there's different sort of analysts, so your situation might be different, but at least you might find one or two things in there that might be helpful to you when you also begin your journey as a data analyst. Guys, I hope you found some value in the video. If you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Help us to grow this community. Listen, my name is Alex. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.